Today we're in Miami, Florida with homeware design duo Michou Mahtani and Thomas Fuchs. After 20 years in New York, they traded city grit for ocean breezes and moved into one of the first high-rises ever built on Brickell Avenue. Surrounded by floor-to-ceiling glass, their apartment feels like a jewel box in the sky, with both ocean and skyline views. Their home is a celebration of art, filled with Thomas's exquisite Murano glass designs and eclectic treasures collected on their travels. And they're known for hosting imaginative dinners inspired by the artists and designers they admire. This is a space devoted to living beautifully and sharing that beauty generously. To watch Michou and Thomas's full episode ad-free, scan the QR code on screen or click the join button below.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Thomas.
I'm Michou. Welcome to our home.
Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see. I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
Hello, I'm Thomas Fuchs, and this is my husband, Michou Mahtani.
Hi, I'm Michou.
I'm a product designer who specializes in Murano glass.
And I do all the global public relations and marketing for my husband's company. Welcome to our home in Miami, Florida. Well, we have a very unique situation here in Miami. We live in an amazing building called the Palace Condominium, which is a Hemsley building, an Architectonica building. Hemsley from Hemsley.
The Palace in New York is the same owner, so that's why this is called the Palace. This is one of the first high-rises built on Brickell Avenue in the early 1980s, and the boom of construction here in Miami. And Michou's family has been occupied in the building for about 40 years. They bought quite a few units pre-construction.
I think this is the very unique opportunity that you have, as we lived in New York for 20 years, and then I've moved to Miami. I was with Thomas's family for 20 years, and this is my turn to have payback, to have all my family in the building.
Exactly.
The unique thing about the apartment and the kind of build out of the apartment is each apartment has two views, equal views of the ocean and the city. And there's very rare times in Miami that you have apartments with a full windows. It's like living in a glass box. As we walk around the apartment and we do a tour, you'll see that we're sitting literally in a floating glass box.
Exactly. And also one of the fascinating things about this building is that it was built by Architectonica, which is now a famous architectural firm, but in the beginning, nobody knew who they were. And the architect, I can never say his name correctly,
Bernardo Fortebrejia.
Fortebrejia was 25 years old when he designed this building. And then he was 27 when it was actually completed.
And actually, we do these Art Basel dinners that are inspired by artists and architects and designers, and we actually featured him at our last Art Basel dinner, where he came to our apartment, and you can go on our blog and see he gave amazing speeches telling us about the history, about how he got the job,
yeah,
which is
fascinating. Yeah, the Helmsleys actually really put a lot of faith in this 25-year-old, and I think it worked out for them.
The beginning of Miami Vice, which is such an iconic show associated with Miami, the beginning of the Miami Vice episode shows you the full panorama of what is Brickell Avenue. And Brickell Avenue has three key buildings that they built, which is the Palace, the Atlantis, and the Imperial. And these three iconic architectural buildings really make up the architectural identity of Brickell Avenue. Now, this year, We have Dolce Gabbana coming. We have Cipriani coming.
The St. Regis.
The St. Regis coming. They're iconic hotels. The Four Seasons is right next door to us. So Brickell Avenue has really taken on an identity in just the last...
And that's also one of the reasons why we love this area. Is being New Yorkers, we feel that this is Miami, but it also has the feel of New York, where you could walk around to the different restaurants and go to happy hour across the street. So it has a very New York feel, and we don't have to get in the car constantly.
And all our nieces and nephews have alerted us that all the coolest clubs are clearly on Brickell Avenue. So instead of getting back into their cars, we always offer them to spend the night instead of getting behind the wheel after partying at all the clubs.
Exactly. Welcome to our living room. A lot of these things have a lot of personal feelings to me. This is the first chandelier I designed when I was 25 years old. It's wood and metal, and the metal is gilded and antique to make it look old. Most of the furniture in here I designed. The sofa I worked on when I was at Dangia, which was a furniture textile company, as well as all the chairs. The lamps, of course, are Murano glass, and you can see my collection of Chinese ceramics. Most of them are Han Dynasty or older. This is kind of an interesting object. This is a carved wood skull that I did with my furniture maker, and I've actually done 3 of them. This one is carved wood, and then it's platinum leaf. And if I give you one, you have to name it after an ex-lover. You don't have to say whose name it is, but that was the rule. Unfortunately, I gave one to a friend in LA, and he sold it at Sotheby's, which broke my heart, but it sold for like $15,000. So you can see in this room, one of the things that we play with a lot are the different textures of materials and colors. As a designer, I'm actually a vegetarian, so I don't use any animal products, so I don't design with leather or anything like that. So here you can see it almost has like a leather feel, but this is a wool fabric, and then we have these linen fabrics which have a stronger texture than the wood. And the mix of materials where you have this beautiful piece of marble that used to be my dining table top in New York City, but now we use it as our coffee table. And it has this beautiful crystal fissure that goes through the middle of it. So when I was in New York one day, I was having a bad day, unknown by my friend, and I came home and the doorman had this big package for me. And I didn't know what it was, and I brought it up to the apartment, and I opened it up, and it was this amazing painting by my friend Edgar, and it was a gift. So when I opened it, and then we feel like in Miami it's perfect because it almost adds another window to the apartment with the sunlight coming in. One of the quirky things about this room is we have this silver bowl filled with I don't know how many glasses. One of the reasons we have so many is because my husband Michou is constantly breaking them or losing them. So that's why we buy them in mass. So these are one of my favorites, which are from his mother, who's all about the sparkle and glitz. So we have those in there, but greatly needed. So these are fun. Sometimes, in a relationship, things just wind up in your house that you don't really have a option. But I do actually love these. These were made by Michou's grandmother. So we actually saved 2 of them. As you can see, they're a lot of fun. And it's nice to have things like this in your house. Not everything has to be serious or ultra designed or from somebody famous. It can just have fun, color, and maybe have some emotional attachment. This is actually a very interesting table. This is by a designer in San Francisco called John Dickinson, who has since passed away, but his creations were really amazing, and this is inspired by some African sculptures that he had. This one's actually made out of plaster. And then this is, as we said earlier, our honeymoon in Kenya, Africa. We went to a flea market, and they're famous for these beaded works, and I have a thing for insects as well as skulls. This is also from the flea market in Africa, which is just made from iron. So this is a vase by Hazy Maze. This is Frida Kahlo, which we love because one of our dogs that's wandering around here, who's going to be 18 this week, is also named Frito Kahlo. When I was in Africa, I went to Uganda to hike to see the gorillas. And we did that for 2 days, which was absolutely amazing. And we also visited an orphanage there. And they were selling items that they made at the orphanage. And this is one of the paintings that one of the children made. So I obviously had to have it because it's amazing. So these are very interesting. These are by an artist named Brickell, who's probably most famous for doing these small sculptures of human torsos that were actually puzzles. He does them as charms and he does them as sculptures, early 20th century. And when we were in Paris, we came across the set that he did. So we just fell in love with it. It's very organic. We love the gold finish to it. So right now we actually use it as a decorative element in the room, but eventually we'll use it as an inspiration to create a set of flatware for ourselves. So a lot of the things we bring home from Europe or our travels is really an inspiration for future work, which is what this is. This is a champagne bucket out of porcelain that I did for our company in Bassano del Grappa, Italy, which is right outside of Venice. And they specialize in porcelain. It's called Villari, or Villari. And I did a whole collection of what we call the Garden of Eden. I did a giant oval chandelier for them that is huge porcelain lily flowers with gold stems holding them in place. And it's actually now in Harrods at one of the elevator landings. This is a friend of ours, Sharon Maraviches, who does these beautiful textural sculptures, which, again, we love adding texture to the room. And this is the lamp I created with these things called Marini. And basically, Marinis are usually sandwiched in the glass and made into an object, but I applied them to the outside to give them a texture. And the dishes are dome. They're early 20th century, and we're excited to have those because we're in the process of doing collaboration with Dome, where I'm doing giant candlesticks based on the Jungle Book theme, which will be introduced in Milan Furniture Show in April. So we have a lot of Dome pieces in the house, which we're very excited about. And Dome is very interesting because they do the lost wax process, which is used to create bronze pieces, but they do it with crystal, which is terrifying to watch them do, but at the same time it's fascinating because by lost wax, they have to break the mold to get into the object. And you can imagine there's a crystal piece inside that mold that they're smashing. But they got it down. So as you can see, I collect the Chinese ceramics, and a lot of them I bought on Hollywood Road in Hong Kong, which is a little bit more difficult to bring into the United States now. But this is a dinosaur egg, an actual dinosaur egg, which they gave me as a gift because it's illegal to sell them. But as a gift, it's perfectly fine. So I usually use it as a doorstop, because it's not going to get damaged. But yeah, it's a dinosaur egg. And then the pieces on the top are, again, all Han Dynasty. We have some bronze pieces. This is a little bit more Neolithic, which is a little bit older. And then we have this piece, which is kind of interesting. This is carved wood, and then it's 24 karat gold leaf. And it's a candlestick that I created when I was living in Los Angeles. You can see the candles get stuck on here. And it's from a tiny little element of a 17th century mirror where I got inspired to use it. The Dauphine is very interesting because the Dauphine, the symbol is the symbol of the prince, the son of the king, but the one that will become king as opposed to all the other princes. So it's always been a very interesting symbol for me. And I did them as two separate dolphins. So this is very interesting. He's carved in stone, and he's new, but I actually painted him with yogurt and wrapped him in a garbage bag for about a month so he would get mold growing on him. But if you look closely, you'll see terrier facing this way with his ears, but his nose is he actually faces three ways. So if you look closely, you'll see he's looking this way, but if you kind of change your view, you'll see that he's actually looking out the window, or he turned his head and he's looking this way. So depending on how you're looking at him and where you're standing is the way he's facing. This is a good example of my Murano glass and my love for the specific techniques. These pieces, you can see, so it's done in the amber glass, and then we put 24 karat gold leaf in it, but I also do the bubbles in the glass because glass is refractory. So the bubbles actually catch the light and just kind of sparkle. This piece, which is incredibly thick, I did in layers of glass. So I do navy blue, and then I do aqua, and then I do clear glass. And then we blow it into the object. But the optical illusion is it looks like it's navy blue, but all the highlights are aqua. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. And then these are pieces I made in high school. And this cute guy is from my trip to Bali, Indonesia. And yes, I carried him on my lap coming back. This piece is I think it's a gong dragon, and he's a protector. So he's carved out of wood, he's painted and gilded, and usually you put him more towards the front of your house to protect you from the evil spirits entering into your house. But I think we're pretty okay with evil spirits, so we have them in our living room. So we have a barware collection where we sell drinking glasses, champagne buckets, and I always do the champagne buckets in marble, or I also did a porcelain recently, but I've done them in marble. And these were the prototypes. So this one is our eye collection, which is mother of pearl and lapis lazuli and onyx. Our butterfly collection, which was done in shell and the white marble, and then the snake. And then over here we have these are the disco volante candlesticks, which we do in Murano glass. And disco volante basically is how they say UFO in Italian, so that's kind of the theme. And then next to is one of my glass skulls, which I just did as a prototype for myself. And then the same skull that I showed you previously, but in yellow gold. And then one of my Murano lamps, which is a very interesting technique where we use opaline glass. And opaline glass, and then we put clear glass and silver leaf together, and then we drip the clear glass with silver leaf, and when it touches the opaline glass, it tarnishes immediately. So the brown you're seeing is actually tarnished silver. And then we blow it into the object. And then we have a collection of eggs, which Michou's father has been collecting over the years, and we inherited them. So now we're going on to the terrace that's off the living room. And this is a table that I designed. Again, I'm inspired by insects and skulls, and snakes seem to be my big inspiration. But this is white marble. The marble is called Murano marble, which is interesting because it's the same marble they used to build the Taj Mahal. And you can't really do big things nowadays, but you can still get small pieces of marble. So I was fortunate enough to get this table. And then it's inlaid with semi-precious stones and mother of pearl to create these different insects. And I always add the mosquito because everybody hates mosquitoes, so I give them a little bit of a shout out. But we use tiger's eye, we use onyx, the cornelian stone, lapis lazuli, and then some of the pieces I did also, the mother of pearl, which is in the bee. And then the base is based on a directoire or French directoire iron table. But we had it powder coated because we're in Miami and the iron would not have lasted very long. And then we obviously have our plants, and then this is a pretty spectacular crocodile or alligator. I think he's a little bit more crocodile, but he's a fountain. and I bought him at auction for a garden statuary dealer in London. And however, once I bought him, I fell in love with him, so I kept it. But he will eventually be going to our house in Italy and becoming the fountain that he was made to be. So I hope I never take this view for granted. This is our view of Key Biscayne, which is one of the first keys of the Florida Keys. And there's a very interesting aspect of it that you can't really see right now, but at the end there's these black dots. And that's a community called Stiltsville, where there's about 7 or 8 houses that are built on stilts, which is pretty fascinating. But this is the view we wake up to. Our bedroom is also facing this way, so it's the same view. And it's facing Key West. I grew up on the Jersey Shore in a town called Brickell, which is right outside of, about 45 minutes outside of New York. But at 17, I went away to college and to Washington, D.C. And then I studied art and art history and then went into the auction business. And that's where I think my interest in design, I became a furniture specialist. And then I moved to San Francisco to work for Butterfield & Butterfield, which was an auction house there, which at the time was the 3rd largest auction house in the United States. And again, not only was it tuning my eye to construction and finishes and all the things you need to design furniture, it also gave me the opportunity to meet more clients. And then I left and became a private dealer. And one of my clients asked if I would design a collection of furniture with him, which was based on antiques, which again, you'll see when we walk through the apartment. And I think that even though all of these pieces, some of these pieces I've had since I was 25 years old, some of them, I don't know if you can see the chandelier, but this was the first chandelier I designed when I was 25 years old. It kind of, because it's my aesthetic, I think it works in wherever we bring these items.
I think the unique thing is I grew up in Montego Bay, Jamaica, where of course there's a huge hurricane right now, but it's a beautiful, beautiful island. My background is actually, my mother is from Beirut, Lebanon, and my father's from India. And I grew up in Jamaica. Also, like Brickell is a beach town. Jamaica, of course, is also a beach town. And I think the unique thing here in terms of our coupling and our understanding of each other's art and how we work and live together is that my awe of Thomas's artwork. So based on the fact that Thomas has over 30 years working in Murano with glass, my family was the distributors for Dome, Lalique, and Baccarat Crystal in Egypt, Beirut, and South America and the Caribbean for over 40 years. And then having that background seasoned and then meeting Thomas on Match.com, which is another part of the story, a fun part of the story, which we'll get to in a few minutes. It was very unique for my appreciation of what he does. And as Thomas always says, 1 minute it's...
1 minute for glass. Yeah, glass is amazing because it's magic. One day it's sand, pigment, and ash, and the next day it's an object. And as a designer, it's amazing because it's immediate gratification because a piece of furniture can take years to develop, where the glass, they have to make it while it's hot. Every single thing that we produce from our company is made by hand. Even the things that are considered a little bit more mass market are still made by hand. And when I first started doing glass, the owner of the factory told me the biggest compliment that you could get is somebody wanting to reach out and touch the piece that you're creating for the texture, for the color, for the luminosity and all of that. So I keep that in mind constantly when I'm designing, regardless of the material that I'm working in.
So we met on Match.com. I was the global brand director of Remy Martin, Louis XIII, which is a very well-known cognac, and I was in and out of New York. And it's quite a funny story. Everybody at my office thought I was a workaholic, so they filled out the Match.com form online and gave it to me as a birthday gift. And Thomas was also on Match.com. And we both lived on the Upper West Side. It's like the When Harry Met Sally movie.
Yeah, so we both lived on the Upper West Side, particularly on 72nd Street. And I lived on 72nd and Riverside, and
I lived on 72nd and Central Park West.
But we never met. And then I sold my apartment and moved a little bit further north, and then we met. But we never met when we were actual
on the same
neighbors.
Street.
So,
and so when we met, we realized that we had so much in common, and we actually lived on the same street for many years and actually didn't cross paths.
Even though Michou totally lied on his He was one of those people that totally lies on his profile where he was 29, 5'8", 5'10".
And 130 pounds.
No, you said you were 135 pounds.
Well, the best part is that I take full credit because it's my office who filled out the profile. So when Thomas said that I lied, I said, well, it was marketing. And here we are 20 years later.
It worked.
All right, now we'll take you into our amazing dining room. Of course, our chandelier is by Thomas Fuchs. Again, everything in the apartment is designed by Thomas. It's a hand-blown Murano glass bubble chandelier. Bubbles make everybody happy, whether it's in the sea or in champagne in a glass. It illuminates. We've actually swapped out the chandelier 3 or 4 times since we've been here for other bubble colors, so that's always a fun idea when you're setting your table. You know, we really want to give people tips and tricks into how to set a dining table. Being a tabletop company, it's so important for us to make things attainable and entry level into our brand. Our dinnerware is actually what looks like melamine is actually biodegradable. As Thomas said, we are a very cognizant company in terms of sustainability. So these are actually hand-dipped resin plates. It's a 2-tone color plate that's actually hand-dipped. So each plate has a different kind of cadence in how the colors take in shape in the mold. So it's a very unique handmade item. So what looks like what you would call a 1960s melamine is actually a hand-dipped resin plate that has the weight of a porcelain plate. So a lot of people think these are actually porcelain or ceramic, but they're actually not. They're hand-dipped resin. Our hand-blown Murano glass drinking glasses mimic actually waves in the ocean. So what I did is I walked around the house, which you can do, and you can actually pick a color palette of similar things around the house and bring them all to the table. Of course, another tip and trick that we did is we went to Kinko's and we just printed a menu on the back of a card, and you have a little menu that everybody can see what they're eating in case people are allergic. We always ask people what your allergies are, what things you eat. Maybe you don't eat seafood, maybe you do. Maybe you don't eat meat, maybe you do. So we actually take the menu into consideration, and everything is homemade. Thomas cooks everything here at home, so it's really a meal that welcomes you to our table. Again, you know, when you come to our home and you see these amazing glasses, from top to bottom, all Thomas Fuchs glasses, you know, whether they're etched, like these are our botanical collection, which is all etched glass and frosted with all the botanicals cut out, which are beautiful. We have these 24-karat polka dot glasses, which come in a variety of colors. Again, these are real 24-karat gold polka dot glasses made with Murano glass. So we can actually set the table with all of our stuff that we actually have here at home, and it's somehow cognizantly with whatever theme that we decide to follow, whether it's fish, whether it's garden, whether it's sea, everything comes together at our table. And then we move over here to this amazing commode. Again, as everything is designed by Thomas Fuchs in our apartment. It's like an infomercial for Thomas Fuchs, but this commode was designed at Potrain, an amazing company in LA, who actually did Deandra Douglas and Michael Douglas's house when Michael was married to Deandra Douglas. And he did this whole collection for them. I've repurposed it and brought it here to Miami. Again, the stone top is again very Miami, and actually also very Lecce, where we have our new house and our new brand called Casa Puglia. So we've actually used the top from Casa Puglia, and these are candlesticks designed, as I mentioned before, in Morocco. When we went to shopping for fabric, we came across an amazing ceramics company and factory, and we sit there for 5 hours and designed a whole collection of tableware, dinner plates, bowls, side plates, and candlesticks for the factory in Morocco. Again, you have these amazing, huge heavy glass sculptures that Thomas did in Murano for Dongye, which are also two-tone. He already explained the process, the unique process. Bernard Buffet, Thomas is so inspired by insects, as we have the same birthday. I don't know if we ever mentioned that. We're both born on March 13th, so it's so unique that to find somebody on Match.com that you date, that all of a sudden you find out you have the same birthday. And we actually got married on March 13th, and our house in Puglia, ironically, is number 13. So 13 is not only a lucky number for Taylor Swift, 13 is a lucky number for us, and we're slightly a little older than Taylor Swift, so we can Bagsy the number, like we used to say when we were kids. So I gifted him for our March 13th birthday this amazing Bernard Buffet insect painting. Bernard Buffet is a renowned French painter who was, I believe, also one of the lovers of Karl Lagerfeld, or one of Karl Lagerfeld's lovers. And this inspired the bug collection, which Thomas Fuchs showed you outside. He did the inlaid table in India, where it's all semi-precious stones inlaid into a marble dining table top, again, using the bug theme. I'd like to describe our style as globalist. I think, again, as Thomas said, the unique thing is that everything in our apartment, once you walk around, you will see that they're all either prototypes or they're finished products, but these are manufactured in Egypt, India, Italy, France, Africa. So we release Morocco. We span the globe in terms of our production. So when you walk around, our style is a global style, although Thomas has a very traditional take on it in terms of our furniture. Again, there's a very unique situation we're living in where Thomas has designed everything in our apartment. So all the furniture, all the lighting, all the beds we sleep in, the sheets, the tablecloths, the plates, the knives, the forks. And so this is a very unique situation to be in. So,
I mean, we have antiques as well, which I obviously didn't design, but the majority of the apartment I designed. And it's not just glass, it's also the furniture, the upholstery, now the dinnerware, as well as the drinking glasses. We probably have 1,000 drinking glasses in our apartment.
I think that, when you talk about the global view of what each culture is to Thomas and how we go to each factory and we sit with the artisans, like in Morocco, I wanted to go shopping for a certain fabric, which I found, and next door we found a ceramic factory, and we sat there for 7 hours and we designed a whole plate collection.
But also the approach I started with was to save these traditions. And that's why I started working in Murano, is because I felt like it wasn't being taken seriously, and that it was just kind of decorative, touristy kind of tourist trade kind of objects. And I knew that there was much more that they could offer the world. And it actually turned out to be a big success, because I did my first collection for a big company that I was working with, and then other designers in the United States also started working with these factories. And I think it really kind of made people remember that these artisans exist.
I think also when you look at Thomas, and if you look at the lamps on either side of us, this is a slate blue that actually Thomas invented, and Giorgio Armani's people made famous, because tell the story how they went into the factory right after you. And
no, so my first collection, I did a champagne color, a slate blue, and a tobacco, which I created because that's the joy of working in Murano as opposed to doing glass anywhere else in the world, is that in Murano they still do the alchemy of making the colors. So I work with the glass blowers all day, and then in the evening I work with the crazy guys that do the alchemy to make the colors, because the colors have to cook for 12 hours. So somehow I got these Italians to work with me and produce these three colors for my launch of my personal collection once I left the larger company. And the Giorgio Armani team, like Michou said, arrived shortly after I left, and they loved all three colors and used the same colors for their introduction, which actually turned out to be good, because I was a small company and they're a big company, and the ovens in the factory are devoted to the colors. So there's a schedule that you have to wait. So if I was doing these colors alone, I would have waited longer to use these colors. So since Armani was using them, they obviously were available a lot more often. The only disappointing thing is that they named the blue to be Armani blue, which I think is hysterical.
I think, when you're talking about our sense of style and our global view and how it all comes together so seamless, I think the thing to understand is that we all have colors and certain things and certain styles that we generate towards, and it's really bringing them all together coming to the table, coming into the home, and kind of just styling them together and showing you tips and tricks of how to really take what you have and make it more cohesive, maybe.
Yeah. And it actually worked. I mean, we moved This apartment is a combination of 2 apartments in New York City that now arrived in Miami, and I think it really works here.
Well, I think also, going back to New York City, we had our New York City Upper West Side apartment, and then we had our Jersey Shore apartment, which was actually featured on the cover of the New York Post as the Jersey Shore's #1 bungalow because it was so cute. And in the Jersey's #1 bungalow, being on the cover of the New York Post, the unique thing was we had city furniture, as Thomas said before, repositioned in New Jersey. So when you look at your aesthetic and how you take certain pieces, a beach house doesn't always have to just have beachy looks or beachy types of furniture. You're able to, by using color and style, incorporate what you have and make it seem like you're at the beach, and then all of a sudden you come to a different country.
Exactly. Well, I think that's the biggest fear. People are so fearful of design, but I always tell them that your aesthetic is your aesthetic. So whether you're buying, a brand new dining table and antique chairs, it's your aesthetic and it's going to follow through on whatever you're bringing into your house. So don't be as concerned that it's not going to work out, because it's your aesthetic and eventually it will work out. So
yeah, and as we walk around the apartment, you'll see the beauty in our apartment is that everything, all the things that we get from all over the world, whether it's something we made or something we picked up at a flea market or some sort of artisan, it somehow all lives together. I mean, the interesting thing is even the colors, because again, I think we all gravitate to certain colors. Once you see those colors as a commonality, as a common thread in the apartment, you could even see now for our house in Italy, we're on our 2nd house in Italy that we've just purchased this summer. And we actually have a color scheme, and that color scheme just came from one photograph. And we love that color gradation of the yarn.
It's like burnt orange to like a ice blue.
Right.
And all the variations
all the
in between.
variations in
And that's
between.
kind of, we carry that photograph with us when we're shopping for furniture and we're shopping for sheets and towels and dishes and glasses and all of that. So
that'll have to be your second video.
I think
You'll
color
have to come
is,
back to Puglia and to our house there.
But color is very important, and it's also a way to add a lot of depth to your house. In your environment, and it's also, it's paint. It's one of the cheapest mistakes you can make. So
I just did
paint.
a ChatGPT research because our last client, we delivered a chandelier last week, and she said she still can't believe she vibrates with so much color. So I did a ChatGPT of what color does to the human emotion, and it actually broke down all the 5 senses and how color is taken in through your eye and how it affects each of your 5 senses, which is a huge justification to us because, again, regardless, as Thomas said, of your color palette, you know that you want to walk in and, Oprah Winfrey once said, you want your home to rise up and meet you. Of course, she was working with a designer at that point, but everybody wants to walk into their home and have it rise up and meet them.
So now welcome to our guest room, office, studio, etc. This is our studio space now. We used to have an office, but smartly, right before COVID, we decided that we were going to move our office to be home office, have everybody work remotely, and focus more on online sales. So I think it's kind of working for us. This wall is basically, at our beach house in New Jersey, we had a 2-story staircase that was filled with images, paintings, prints, photographs, and it's all dogs. And we've gathered quite a bit. Some of these are like this one in the corner, and the one in that corner are by Mary Beth McKenzie, who has paintings in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And then some of them are, ones that I did when I was in, elementary school. So some of them are our dogs, some of them are our friends' dogs, and some of them are just random dogs. But we've had a lot of fun collecting them over the years. Some of them are very quirky, like this print of a poodle that looks kind of evil, as well as our, this is one of my favorite pieces and one of the first pieces I got, and it's by an artist, Susan Halls, who now is focusing a lot more on ceramics. But that was a crazy dog eating the insects a while ago. And this is where I work. This is my desk. I have this little collection of ceramic animals that I've had since I was a child, which kind of keeps me company. On this side, I have a very interesting inkwell, which is bronze and marble. which I bought when I was in my 20s and working for the auction business. It's from the desk of Cecil B. DeMille, and I've carried it from place to place. This is a vintage silver-plated, it's actually sterling silver-plated German light fixture that, again, I've had for quite a bit of time, as well as just some prototypes I'm working on, as Michou pointed out earlier, the melamine plates and the different colors that we're working on and introducing. This is one of my favorites, the pink and red. And the nice thing is that they're hand poured, so this line of color is always slightly different. And again, here is my little mosquito marble inlay that I love. So, and then I have my book collection. These two little pieces are also by Susan Halls. I still use a lot of these books for reference, whether it's for gardening or design work or cooking. I'm still very old school when it comes to that sort of thing, as much as I love the internet. So this is my design assistant. And as I said, this Friday she's turning 18. So we got her when she was about this big as a puppy. So this is Georgie. Georgie is a rescue beagle who's an absolute nightmare, but her name is Georgia O'Keeffe. So we name all of our animals after artists. So we have Georgia O'Keeffe, we have Frida Kahlo, we unfortunately just lost Alexander Calder, and previous dogs were Cy Twombly and Christo, and a cat named Cezanne. So it's consistent. This is the guest room, which Georgie thinks is her room. This is a bed that I designed when I was working for this large company, and we took this weaving technique that they're usually doing in a smaller scale and did it as the headboard, which I think turned out quite stunning. It's made in Indonesia at a place where they specialize in teak furniture. The crazy wallpaper, which we love because we love color, is La Croix, and we were fortunate to find such fun colors. The lamps are, again, my design, done in a blue Murano glass with glass rods, which I attached to the outside. Another piece of Chinese ceramics with paintbrushes. I seem to have paintbrushes everywhere. Again, what we've said is that we are big fans of color. So in this room, not only do we have the La Croix wallpaper, we wanted a color equally as intense as what's radiating from the wallpaper. So we went with Benjamin Moore gloss emerald green. And it's, I think, for a small space, people are afraid to use dark color, but I think for a small space, particularly in a bedroom, I think it gives a very intimate feel. And we also like the contrast of colors and textures. You can see we have heavy linen, we have velvet, we have the cotton. I mean, as much as I love our city view on this side, we had this beautiful fabric, hand woven in India, which is parrots in as many different colors as we could possibly do. So this is very interesting. This is hand printed paper from Venice, and it's very particular to Venice. One of the things I love about it the most is that within the ink, they put kind of a sparkle in it, which is hard to see unless you see it in reality. This one is angels, but they also do a lot of kind of the architectural facades of Venice. And we use these also for giving our corporate gifts in, which are usually Venetian glass, so it's perfect for these. But they do them in books and notebooks and sketch pads and all of that. So it's an interesting thing to look for if you find yourself in Venice running around. I have my little Ganesh on my desk. Ganesh is very important as a god because Ganesh is the god that helps you avoid obstacles in your life. So I like to have him around. In our house, I think the room that I feel is the most important, and I think the one that has the best energy is our dining room. And I believe that's because it's the room that's mostly in transition. With every dinner party we have, we change the dining table dramatically, whether that's just with the dishes or the people or the food or the lighting or the flowers. But we always, I think we're that rare couple that will actually go out of their way to create a experience for the people that are coming here to dine.
Like Thomas said, when we entertain, it's really dinner theater. And dinner theater, as New Yorkers, mixing uptown with downtown and artists with billionaires and the whole melange of people, we really brought that to Miami, and that's how we met a lot of people when we came to Miami.
Exactly, but also on a more intimate level, we love the idea of being able to sit at the dining table for 3 or 4 hours, and we can really just let our hair down and relax and just have loud conversations, quiet conversations, and a lot of fun, and not feel pressured to ever have to get up and leave. I mean, we started doing this thing where we thought Sunday brunch would be great, but then people were staying till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So.
For me, my favorite room is our bedroom because of the fact that when we moved to Miami, I wanted something bright. Again, regarding color and light, you don't realize living up north 6 months of the year, you really don't have sunlight and what that does to your soul. So I painted our bedroom Benjamin Moore eraser pink, and it's such a soft pink with a little brown touch in it, and it really lights up the bedroom. And when you see our bedroom and the amount of light, we actually lie in bed looking at the ocean, and when you see what that does to you. And we actually, for our honeymoon, we waited 10 years to actually go on a honeymoon because we wanted a trip that was memorable. And we actually went on a 1-month safari to Africa, where Thomas actually had been before. And we relived this experience, and we came away with such a vibration that even the photography that I do as a hobby, I blew up into huge pictures, which you'll see in our bedroom. And we have a very global but African themed bedroom when you see our bedroom. Welcome to our bedroom. This is our amazing bedroom with an amazing view of Miami, of the Key Biscayne Bay. And we are here in our bedroom. Again, as I said, we picked a Benjamin Moore eraser pink, which has a little bit of brown in the pinkness. I think that it kind of reflects the light from outside and brings it into the room. And they say that pink, when it's taken in by the eye, is a very cool, calm, soothing emotion that it evokes in your body and your soul. So it was very important for us to have a very soothing effect while maintaining an amazing theme of our bedroom. As I said, because we have a unique birthday that we're both born on the same day and got married on the same day, we waited 10 years. 10 years we waited to go on our honeymoon, or what people call their honeymoon. And we went to Africa. So it was such an amazing experience for us. Thomas had been to Africa on safari before, and this was my first time seeing it through his eyes and my own eyes. And we wanted to bring that global feel into our bedroom. So when you look at our bedroom, again, our bedside table lamps are hand-blown Murano glass by Thomas. It was so interesting to pick colors that evoked Africa, the themes of Africa, and how to bring it into your bedroom without being too jarring, without being too cliche in regards to animal prints, and how to evoke that feeling but have a global feel. When you look at our bed again was just covered in a navy blue velvet, and all our bedding is handmade in Italy at our new factory that we use in Italy called the Nap King. The Nap King Italy is an amazing company that we've collaborated with over many years in regards to all the linens, tablecloths, and bedding that we make, that we've actually used in all of our homes. Over our bed, we have this amazing evil eye to keep away the evil spirits. And this is an amazing eye made out of amazing straw that's actually handmade, again, in Africa, that we brought back with us. And the 2 frames that corner either side of the bedside table bring your eye up, because it's so important in a bedroom not to keep everything low. So we wanted to definitely make the effort to create another level. So if you see how we created the 2 lamps on either side of the bed, which are shorter, and then we created another eye line level with the 2 frames and the evil eye. So when you're lying in bed, you don't feel that the ceiling's coming down on you. You feel the depth and the height of the room. And that also technically gives you a much warmer feeling when you're lying in bed, that your eye and your cognizance and your point of view are taken up higher to the ceiling. Our curtains are just as interesting, because our curtains are borders that we actually found in India, which are made out of a technique called bandhani, D-I-N-I. The Bandhani technique is where they pinch the fabric and they dye it in each color that you pick, and these were custom made for us. Again, evoking the African. So this is where Africa meets India in regards to us taking the inspiration from Africa and using an Indian technique. And we actually got these amazing mirror borders made. And again, when you look at the eye line of the fabric, we matched the eye line to the window. So there was this certain eye line going so you see out to the view. This Bandhani fabric is all hand embroidered with these amazing mirrors. And again, the amazing colors, subtly taking the pinks and the blues from outside and inside and combining them with the oranges of Africa and reflecting with the mirrors. So when you're lying in bed and the light kind of flickers, you actually see all of the African beaded work and how it evokes and carries out through the room. When you turn to my right, you'll see these two amazing pictures. Another tip and trick is any picture that you take with an iPhone, because iPhones are so well made these days that the resolution is so amazing that you could take pictures and go to Kinko's and print them out. And I made these two amazing pictures of these two amazing Muslim women who are covered in a burqa from head to toe with this amazing little girl peeking out from the burqa. And here's Thomas walking with this little beautiful girl walking to her class with books covered in a burqa also. This was in Lamu, Africa. So after 1 month of being on safari in Africa, we went to this amazing island called Lamu, L-A-M-U. There are no cars, there's no sort of traffic allowed, only donkeys and by foot. It's a tiny island. And this girl was walking to school, and what Thomas looks like he's turning and talking to the girl, but in essence he's telling me to hurry up and walk faster. But I actually caught this amazing thing, and then of course I went to Michael's and got these framed. Again, attainability and genuine authenticity. That's what you want in your bedroom. Every time you look at something, you want it to evoke a certain emotion, and know that you're able to create what we've created in our home. Our carpet is also reminiscent of some sort of African kind of animal print. But again, when you look at the framework of a bedroom and what you wanted to evoke, we wanted to bring Africa and everything that we saw on our honeymoon into our bedroom and create a warm feel. The other amazing thing is the other artwork when you look at wall space and you look at walls and you think of corners that need to come alive, it's always interesting to put a painting or a picture of something botanical in the room, because that kind of softens the room. And when you look at a room and you see something of flowers, on the left side of our, again, Thomas Fuchs Dongya chair, you see this amazing plant. It's so important to bring plants into the bedroom. The oxygen that the plants evoke, again, you can do research on ChatGPT or Google. It will show you that plants actually bring oxygen into the room to help you sleep better. On this pedestal that was a gift from Thomas's parents, we actually had a champagne bucket, which we've also designed, but we decided to use our champagne bucket as a planter. And we put this amazing plant that Thomas found that also has the same color as the curtains and evokes the same kind of atmosphere in the room. So another tip and trick that we'd love to give people is that, in the old school, people would have portraits of themselves. Sorry, I'm laughing because I think it's so cliche, but people would have portraits of themselves and their families in their living room. When you walk around our apartment, it's so interesting because we have no photos of family members or ourselves or anywhere except for our bedroom, because we feel that that's the intimate space that you want to see pictures of your family and your friends or whatever evokes that emotion. Here we have an amazing portrait of Thomas done by a very renowned artist who's actually at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Her name is Mackenzie, and she's done a beautiful portrait of Thomas that we've hung in the hallway entering our bedroom. And I've framed this picture, which is framed, ironically, with 4 smaller pieces of artwork. These are Murano glass bugs, as you saw, to be consistent with everything we're doing. Thomas is all inspired by bugs, hence our Bernard Buffet painting in the dining room, hence the table on our balcony that's hand-laid with precious stone. These are Murano glass bugs. So these actual bugs and beetles are made from Murano glass and framed. And below them are Murano glass butterflies. It's actually a real butterfly taken and dipped in glass and covered. This Mackenzie portrait is painted by Mackenzie and hangs in our bedroom on the way into our bedroom to kind of give it. So when you walk in our front door, you know you're in someone's home because ironically our front door hallway, you can take a peek into our bedroom, so you know you see a picture of the owner of the home, and yet you're not confronted and you don't absorb the energy of having somebody have a self-portrait of themselves in their living room or public space where you're so encompassed and attention is paid to it. You don't want other people looking at you while you eat, while you enjoy somebody's home. So this is why we kept all the portraits and pictures in our bedroom, along with the photographs that I took of Thomas in Africa, along with pictures of us in front of our home in Italy. These are all cordoned off and selectively placed in our bedroom. The amazing thing about waking up in our building, as I said, we live in an Architectonica designed building by Bernardo Fortebrejia, iconic to Miami and built by Leona and Harry Hemsley from New York, because we're New Yorkers who've come back to Miami. So waking up to a view of the ocean versus New York waking up to the view of a building makes so much of a difference. We lie in bed and we look at this amazing view of Key Biscayne, which is the first key to start off the keys. And we lie in bed and actually look at the ocean. They say that when you wake up, I forgot the actual technical term, but there's a technical term talking about the light and how the light of the day should wake you up and how that sets your day in regards to emotions and how your day is going to be digested by the human body. And we're so lucky and happy to live in a building where we can actually lie in bed and look at the ocean. And equally beautiful is at night, because at night, if you follow us on Instagram, which I'm sure you will after this video, you will see that we take pictures and videos of the barges that come and set off fireworks all night long. So especially on the weekends when people have anything to celebrate, weddings, you have yachts that come and park in the bay, and they have a firework display at least, I would say 2 to 3 times a month. They come and we have our own private fireworks show. So at night you have fireworks, and at day you have this beautiful view of the bridge and all of the sailboats in Miami. And it really gives you an appreciation to moving from New York to Miami and enjoying this beautiful view from our bed.
Home to me is a place for gathering, a place for security, a place for warmth. Really just, a sense of coming together, whether it's just the two of us or whether it's 30 people for dinner.
Yeah, I think that, Khalil Gibran, the famous Persian poet, wrote a book called The Prophet, and he talks about the home. And I think when you talk about the home, as Thomas said, we have such a gift to have met each other and to be with each other and support each other in so many ways. And I'm always recreating with everything Thomas works with and creates. But the home feeling is when you walk into a home and you see these signs, home sweet home or welcome home, it really brings a warmth to your heart. And because that Thomas comes from a family of 6 kids, I come from a large family as well, and when you kind of bring those families together, that's what home is. And we just try to parlay that into our friends, because we really know that friends are our family, and we love entertaining and we love everything in our home and creating products for the home, which is quite ironic because 99% of the products we create are all for one's home.
Which actually makes it great, because if somebody breaks one of the drinking glasses, we can just go to the closet and pull another drinking glass out, so we don't have to get too uptight about it.
Thomas always, when we're taking up the broken glass and I'm taking it to the kitchen, Thomas rolls his eyes and said, I knew they would break that glass, talking about the certain guest who broke the glass. But yes, that's what home means to us. Love, health, family, and home.
Security.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.